You ever encounter someone and you realize that they're trying to impress you? And this is during your first conversation. That's a person I don't care to work for or work with because they're coming across as not their authentic selves. But that's not what we have today. We have Vlad. And I worked with Vlad a couple of years ago. And I always thought that Vlad came across as an authentic person to work with. So today, welcome to Lead Like You Mean It, people. And we welcome Vlad. Vlad, I don't want to say your last name because even though I practice, I don't want to mess it up.
That's okay, Carla. Yeah, thanks for having me. Vlad Desiatkin. Great to be here.
Good to have you. So Vlad is a co-founder and chief solutions officer of Navaide, a visionary leader in enterprise transformation and intelligent automation. With years of experience supporting data, digital systems, and innovation across the U.S. Department of War. Vlad brings a unique perspective on how leaders can thrive in the age of AI, automation, and constant disruption. He's passionate about helping organizations and the people within them lead with curiosity, accountability, and empowerment, and especially as technology continues to reshape the way we work. So grab your coffee, your tea, and in my case, water. We're going to have a conversation with Vlad on bridging people and technology. Vlad, welcome.
Thank you, Carla. Appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Sure thing. I'm going to throw this over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Like I said, it's great to be here. Yeah, so I'll just introduce myself. I guess I can start off that way. So I'm, as you mentioned, co-founder. I lead the strategy and the vision, a lot of the work that we're developing with Navaide with my co-founder, Tony Maud. And a lot of what I do day to day is develop the technical capability of the work that we do, but also oversee and manage a lot of the delivery aspects. And I brought some delivery leadership recently into the company, which has been helping a lot. But as you can imagine, pushing on the technology side, having people at the center, it's a challenge, and it's an exciting thing that we do. And so that's what I do day to day. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you about leadership.
Oh, sure thing. Okay, so tell me about what does bridging people look like in an environment, especially in something that you are a co-owner in? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, we say a lot of times that the technology is the easiest part. Most often, it's the people aspect that brings the most challenges, unique perspectives. And so what it looks like for us is really empowering folks to lean in on, with client issues or development of new innovations, prototypes, things that we're working on. A lot of what I find myself doing day to day, and that the key term being sort of bridging, is I help people communicate. So I find that a lot of times, folks kind of bring their own perspectives, have their own expectations. And a lot of what I do in sort of, bridging the gap is driving communication. And so sometimes that's, the active listening aspect, empathetic listening, and just kind of letting the conversations evolve and helping to facilitate, empower those conversations to occur.
It's something you mentioned, active listening. I think every leader should be trained on active listening. It's a powerful thing.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and a lot of times, being reminded regularly of that. We may have, we've all, probably learned it over the years from school and things, but it's being reminded constantly, having that at the forefront. Seeking first to understand. Stephen Covey talks about. So yeah, very much believe in that.
So what does it look like when, let's say you just mentioned active listening, when you have the client and then you have a staff member within Navaide and they're not seeing eye to eye? How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, I think, not to sound like a broken record, but sort of seeking first to understand and driving that mindset. Mm-hmm. And so anytime I see some misalignment, I think that there's just more, questions that need to occur and more dialogue and really asking the right questions. I think as leaders and really at all levels of the organization, and yourself being an ICF certified coach, my wife is also an ICF certified coach, that the skill and the talent of asking the right questions to bring forward those things that are going to lead to, the right outcome or the right alignment of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it looks like day to day, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing when you mentioned about a coach, as I was sitting here listening to you, I'm thinking, okay, Vlad's a coach. It helps in your leadership when you ask so many questions and you allow people just to open up and dig deeper. Like one of my colleagues at the Navy, her name was Anita. She used to always say, we need to peel back the onion. So it helps when you ask the question and it just opens up the mind of of whether it's an employee, one of your managers or whatever. It just opens up their mind to say, I have the freedom to share far more than just answering or to just, yeah, boss, this is what I'm going to do.
Right. Yeah. And I think it shows or messages to the person you're communicating with that you care and that you want to understand them. And there's that human, innate desire to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it puts people at ease. You want to be careful. When I was first sort of, learning to ask the right questions, my wife helps me a lot with that, is not to try hard not to lead people too much to the answer that you expect, the sort of loaded questions that can happen. And, we're all guilty of it, it still happens, but really approaching it with sort of a wide open, perspective, wide open mindset when you're addressing whatever the challenges of the day.
Mm-hmm. I want to shift and talk about AI. AI in the work environment, how has that changed not only your business, but your interaction with people?
Yeah, that's a great question. AI is everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and every day, you wake up to something new, some new innovation. I think the pace at which things are changing has never been this fast, at least as far as I can remember. And so a lot of what's occurring day to day is at least what I observe with the folks that I interact with and what I see out there in industry is there's a bit of this sort of change fatigue that occurred
Mm-hmm.
with the pace of AI. And
Yeah.
so a lot of what I try to do is help people sort of cope, and myself, frankly, cope as well with so much churn and so much change. That's one thing that I think we're probably better than average or better than most at Navaide, and the culture we try to cultivate is embracing change and leaning into the change. And I think if you start with that mindset, that you'll get to the right answer, you'll find the right path, whatever it might be. But in terms of answering your question and the way that AI, aside of that, has impacted it, every day, the tools that we use, the technologies that we implement, and just everything is faster. We're able to gain a lot of leverage, and sort of those asymmetrical, investments in technology can really drive and propel the team forward day to day. And that's at a macro level, with big client outcomes and big client deliverables and strategic initiatives that clients have or that we have with the company, but also on a micro level, in the day to day, that the way that people operate and do their job, it's definitely impacted us a lot in a good way in a lot of things.
Okay, thank you. What is your biggest win with Navaide?
Biggest win? Well, I would say it's probably just how rewarding it is to see the team come together like this. You could talk about contracts and specific,
Mm-hmm.
business deals and things like that. But I think if I were to really reflect, the biggest win is to step back and look and see what we built together as a team. So yeah, that's I tend to one of the reasons that I got in this business, started building a company is I tend to have a lot of vision and a lot of sort of forward-looking mindset that can be stressful for some people at times, when you're always looking ahead. And what I found is you really can only get so far, with your own personal vision and your own personal ambitions. And so when you can align on perspectives and align on culture, and get the team rowing in the same direction, it's really rewarding. So that's probably been the biggest win, is to see the team moving, working so well together, collaborating so well together, delivering, these great things that we do for clients every day. So. Yeah. How about you? What would you say is the biggest win for yourself in this new coaching endeavor that you have yourself in?
So thank you for the question. I would say my biggest win is that I did it. I opened up my own business. It has been a dream of mine for years. So I hired a coach. And the first thing she made me do is select a day of retirement at the Navy. And I freaked out. I was like, no. And she just sat on the phone quietly. I made the decision. And when it happened, then, I just proceeded with my business. So I am living my dream. That's my biggest win.
So great to see. And you can see it in the way that you put yourself out there. I'd say, like, from what I've observed, you're at the core, you're still the same person that I worked with, but I feel like you've been sort of activated in a new way in this new career that relatively new that you've been pursuing, and it's rewarding, I guess, to see yourself elevating and doing the things that you love. You just sort of light up.
Oh, well, thank you, Vlad.
I think a lot of people observe that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. But it's something that you said earlier. It's about the team. So my producer, Connie, is here. I also have an online business manager, Ronalyn Wirtz, and you can't do it out. And then I have all kinds of coaches and support to help me along the way. And of course, friends with prayer. And Carla, I'm rooting for you and everything. So I will never be able to do this alone. One thing, when you mentioned your partner in the business, what's the difference in personalities? Because you're visionary, you look forward, and I think the gentleman's name is Tony.
Right, Tony Moss.
Okay, so what's the difference in your personality and Tony's?
We're very much yin and yang in a good way. We sort of
good.
offset each other and create balance. And he's a lot of times very practical and pragmatic, and I might be out there in the clouds and sort of living in the future. And so we come together, and so yeah, it's healthy debate. It's respect and collabaration, and frankly having someone to lean on as well as you're going through this. There's been a lot of hard times that we've been through over the years as we've been evolving. So yeah, that's the way we tend to operate. We have to remind ourselves a lot to sort of find time for each other. You're so busy. We split the work. Tony managed a lot of the operations and serves in the CFO function and many other functions as well. And so we rely on each other a lot, and we have to find time for each other to connect. So we like to make sure that we have time for that. It helps that we're also friends outside of work. We were friends before. But sometimes, the nature of work day to day becomes transactional. You're in the weeds and dealing with tactical things, and it's good to always find time to break away and think bigger and align on perspectives or whatever it might be.
Yeah. As soon as you said you were a visionary, you look to the future, I thought, okay, Tony is the one who's the steady person. And when you said practical, I said, yep. I mean, that makes for a great partnership. I am the same way as you. I'm a visionary, and sometimes my team, I'm just, okay, the big picture, everything. I want to do everything. And then my business manager said a couple of weeks ago, she said, Carla, she basically told me, we got to stop right here. We've got to stop right here and slow down. I'm like, yeah, but the world is out there. So it's good that you and Tony are not the same, because you wouldn't be able to accomplish anything.
Right. Yeah. Or we'd be our own little echo chamber,
Yeah.
We'd just be egging each other on. Yeah. I think patience, is another thing that's really important as well.
Yeah. And then the team can see how the two of you work together as well, because it wouldn't work well with two Vlads and two Tonys. So they can see how you guys complement each other and you're able to move the business forward as well.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And we've been fortunate to bring in some great leaders. There's other folks that serve on the senior leadership team and executive teams in the company. And so that team, probably more than any other team, sees us interacting together. It's always a process, and we try to get better every day. yeah, another thing that's important, I'd say, is also just understanding kind of where the lines of responsibility are, divided, so that you don't sort of get into this, decision paralysis and all those sorts of things that can
Yes.
happen when two folks debate. So it's great dialogue and having that foundation of trust to be, vulnerable and put yourself out there. And so we spend a lot of time working on the culture and building that foundation within the team. Goal that, as much as we lead the team day to day, that the team is operating in a way and with the frameworks and systems and everything else and the culture that it would survive without us. If we won the lottery and go live on an island or something somewhere, that it would survive without us and endure.
Mm-hmm. So, Vlad, I'm going to talk about something a little personal. I mentioned it before. A couple of months ago, not weeks, but a couple of months ago, I saw pictures of you and your family in Germany. What did it do for you mentally to step away from Navaide and to vacation with your family?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. It's so important and I always, it's important to step away and take a break, but in the heat of battle, and you're working hard, it's almost, you have to reset your mindset and be prepared to step away. I think the first few days is always just this feeling of kind of feeling like you're late or you're missing something or a little bit of anxiety. And a few days in, you start to really relax and appreciate, wherever you are, whether it's, traveling overseas or just even, camping and fishing with the kids around here. And so it means a lot. I haven't had the opportunity to do that for many years as we were building the company. And we're finally at a point where I can step away a bit, and Tony as well. And that's a big part of the culture that we try to create.
Yeah.
And, you say, work hard, play hard, you hear those sorts of things. I wouldn't say that that's how we would describe it. I think it's knowing, when you as an individual need to take a break and creating time for that and prioritizing that. And that's part of sort of sharpening the saw and refreshing yourself. So it's great. It's very rewarding and very nice to step away for sure, be able to do that and trust the team, empower and trust the team to keep pace moving while you're out.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. So several months ago, my friends and I, we just drove down to Williamsburg for a couple of days. And I have to be 100% honest. I mean, I'm the one whose business it is, and I am sitting in Williamsburg freaking out because I didn't bring my laptop. I said I'm not going to do any work, and it was so hard. That first, just what you said, the first day was so hard, and I thought, well, wait a minute, I deserve this time. Then the next day it became easier, and then the third day, I forgot. I said, I need to run my business. I need to get back because I'm totally, my mind is totally beyond the business. I'm enjoying spending time with my friends and the environment.
And you were in Williamsburg, you said?
In Williamsburg, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's important to take the time and respect when others, need the time as well.
Yeah.
There's the ebb and flow nature of this industry. It's just finding quiet periods where you can step away.
Yeah, and it's important for your team, like you mentioned, your team was able to see it because as a leader, you don't want to be able to say, oh, make sure you take care of yourself and your family, but yet you're charging through and they never see the example of the leader stepping away. Well, you're telling us this, but Vlad, I see you every day. I can tell when you're online every day. So that's wonderful to model that for them. I mean, I know the purpose was to spend time with your family, but that's something that you model, just for them so they could say, oh, okay, so he's not talking the talk. He's actually walking this through.
Absolutely. And that is, relatively new last couple of years for me, because I definitely had sort of this, unhealthy relationship and was sort of a workaholic type of approach to day to day. I agree in work-life balance in theory. I think in practice, you end up really having to focus and roll your sleeves up in certain periods. And so it's a relatively new phenomenon the last couple of years for myself to be able to do it. But I agree that I definitely see, the value for the team and modeling the behavior, like you said, towards the culture that we want to cultivate here.
Yeah. Okay. So we mentioned earlier about curiosity, accountability, and empowerment. What's a moment when those values were tested, and how did it transform your leadership?
Yeah, well, I think it's tested every day. So there's probably a lot of moments that I could draw from.
Mhm.
Uh, I think for me, the way my mind works is I like to put puzzles pieces together. So yeah, I might have the vision and sort of this sort of future mindset, but I really like to work backward and figure out how we're going to get there. And so I would say being able to operate in that some state of ambiguity is important in business in general. You have to move out, and even when the picture is a little fuzzy, you have to have some confidence in moving forward. And when you're starting to, empower other members of the team, there's a little bit of this, it's not always easy to let go
Yeah.
and trust. And so I think what I've reflected on the last couple of years as we've been building out the executive team and other leadership in the company is what's important for me to do and for other leaders to do in the company is to create the environment where there's trust on the team that people can be vulnerable and they can, we can have that healthy conflict and have the debate and people feel comfortable bringing issues up and that we're not in an environment where people are sweeping issues under the rug. And so
Yeah.
once there's a level of confidence that we do have a culture like that, it's a lot easier to empower people because you trust them that if something comes up, which something always comes up,
Hmm.
that they'll bring it forward and it'll be be something that the team addresses together versus feeling like people kind of go off and go do things in a black box. And you want to make sure that people feel comfortable bringing things back to the group and addressing it together, and that in turn allows me to empower more and more.
Hmm. Okay. So with the leadership, with starting Navaide, tell me, I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Why did you start Navaide?
Well, we had worked on a few of us had worked on different projects with different organizations, and frankly just felt that we wanted to do it a little differently.
Hmm.
And so a lot of it was just trying to build a unique culture. You bring a unique group of people together. And we talk about it a lot that really any one of us that are here in the company could be doing any number of other things. None of us have to be here. We all choose to be here. And that's because we align around a certain set of values.
Hmm.
And we're working hard as we're growing and growing, maintain that culture and avoiding some of the cultural drift that can occur when a company grows, and when it transitions from like a founder-led company to sort of
Yeah.
a distributed leadership. But yeah, it's building a place that I want to work at, quite
Hmm.
frankly, is what
Hmm.
inspired me to join
Yeah.
the team and start building.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something similar to me as well. Because I thought, you know what? If I'm going to own it, it has to align with my values and not just, hey, let me open up a coaching business. No, it has to align to my values. And then, as you mentioned, bringing on the people who would support that as well. So I'm with you
Right.
on that. I want to shift back to the family, and I want to talk about um, fatherhood. So, with AI happening at the speed of light, and I mean, you could pull up all kinds of things, say AI, AI, AI. What type of environment for the future, what type of environment would you want your son to live in?
Question. Yeah, I'd have to really think about that. That's it's hard because even the folks at the forefront of the technology don't truly really know. That's one thing you learn right as you grow.
Mm.
And so I think the kind of environment that I would want to build and what we're trying to build is back to kind of where we started, this whole concept of bringing people and bridging people and technology, is people are at the center of it,
Mm-hmm.
and people have control it. And we have to be intentional as we do that, meaning, the decisions that we make every day have to guide us, and the things that we don't do have to guide us as well. So, I hope that my kids grow up in a place where they can be, creative, they can be curious. There's AI and robots and machines and things that make our life better, but not at the detriment of society as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's the direction we're trying to go. Yeah, but that's a deep question. How about you? When you think about that, what do you think?
I tell you, I personally, I enjoy AI, but what I have learned from a business perspective it's a support in my business. It doesn't run my business. And at the same, pardon me, at the same time, I have to be careful because I can get in there and say, okay, create this, my voice and everything else or whatever, create this program. I have to be mindful that it still aligns, as I said earlier, with my values, because it can create someone else's values and it's out of sync. So I have to make sure that however I use it, because I use it quite a bit as a support. I have to be mindful that it supports my values, whether it's my business or if I'm using it on a personal basis. And that's for now and for the future. Because when I first started using AI, I thought, oh, this is just magnificent. I mean, my mind exploded. I could create this, this, and this, and this, and this. And then I sat there and I was like, well, why are they developing this program? This makes absolutely no sense. So it's a lot of going back and reviewing, a lot of making sure that this is actually what I want. So I hope that answers your question, but the reverse with my question, but I just need to make sure that it aligns with me professionally and personally.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's so much technology and AI application for coaching and personal development is so broad.
Yeah.
We work with a company called Marley. That's it's it's like getmarley.com or something like that. That is an AI driven sort of personality assessment, but also to help with some coaching as well. And what we found, it's just a small group of us, kind of at the senior leadership, executive leadership level, that have been exploring it. And you find that it really, it's a tool, and it can certainly help drive some of those communications. It can help folks approach, one-on-ones and things better, help a team work more cohesively together. But ultimately, the work is still on the people.
Yes.
And it's just a tool. So.
Yeah, that's what I've actually found. It's a support. I mean, to the business. It's not something that I'm going to expect AI to sit there and drive the business at all. It's a support. It is a member of the business, but that's as far, and it has no authority.
Right. Not only that authority that you give it. Yeah.
All right. Only that I give it. So anything else you want to share, Vlad, before we end our show?
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess I appreciate being on the show with you. I appreciate talking about this. I think it's a really important topic. We talk about a lot within the company and with my wife. And you mentioned, getting you hired a coach. I work with a coach as well, Dan Negroni. He's a great coach here in San Diego. And I would just, for the audience, for the folks that maybe listening to this, I would definitely encourage people to seek out and find help and find alternative perspectives. I think relying too much on the AI or on the computer to tell you what to do or how to live your life is a dangerous road that you want to avoid. So using it as a tool, like you said. But I think it's important to reach out and find that human connection, find the folks that you align with, and that can help you get to whatever the next level is for yourself, or help you cope whatever you're coping with or dealing with. Because it is a lot. There's a lot of churn and noise, and being able to slow down the pace of the game. So that's something I talk about a bit.
I think we lost your sound.
Oh, can you hear me still?
Oh, I
Hello?
can hear you now.
Yeah. I was just saying that, anytime feeling overwhelmed or feeling like not being in control, just reminding yourself that you control the pace of the game, and it's really, you're empowered to drive whatever it is that you're trying to drive, or to slow things down. So I think that's important. That's probably a big piece that I would like to, leave the audience with, that I find myself, needing to be reminded of that every day.
Well, thank you, Vlad. It's been a pleasure, and it's great seeing you. I haven't seen you maybe in, I think has it been 2 years? It's been over 2 years.
Yeah, a couple of years. It's great to see you as well. Appreciate it.
I thank you as a guest. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to mess up your last name, so I'm just going to say Vlad. Thank you, Vlad, for being our wonderful guest on Lead Like You Mean It, people. Next week, I am interviewing our producer, Connie. That's going to be an interesting conversation. So she's going to have to take care of the back end and participate as a guest as well. Vlad, thank you so very much, sir. Thank you for this time. And we will see you all in 2 weeks on Lead Like You Mean It, people.
Bye-bye.